Hello, my name is Janet Sewell. I was born in Tucson, Arizona to Caucasian English-speaking parents. Arizona was a brief detour for them while my dad interned prior to moving to Santa Barbara, California, where he joined my grandfather in the family business. My father came from a wealthy family while my mother did not. This type of contradiction was a theme in my childhood as I spent much of it between two countries and two lifestyles. My mom was not very comfortable with wealth, so while my grandparents lived in Montecito, we lived in a suburb across town that was middle class. My mom exhibited little of what Judith Warner labeled as maternal ambivalence, as referenced in Mooney's introduction, and was instead a very natural mom who seemed to innately know how to parent. She rejected many of the current trends in child rearing and instead breastfed, used cloth diapers, and refused to Ferberize or let her children cry it out. 18 months after my arrival, my mom gave birth to fraternal twins, my brother and sister. The three of us spent our childhood growing up in California with both of my parents and a great deal of consistency. My mother raised us and showered us with love and affection. My feeling life, as described by Mitchell in his article on social-emotional education, contains memories of an abundance of hugs, kisses, snuggling, cooking, sewing, and reading alongside my mom. We ate all our meals together and had strict bedtimes and rules such as no TV during the school week and only a half hour for each of us on Saturday mornings. Oh, how we loved those cartoons. We had regular chores, attended church, and participated in service groups, all with our mom by our side. Family traditions were very important in my home and still are to this day. Whether it was homemade Halloween costumes, gingerbread and sugar cookies, Mom and Me Day, or game nights, I grew up with them and they are still a part of my life today. My dad loved animals and taught us responsibility through pet ownership. The more unique the pet, the better. We had the usual dogs and cats, but also tarantulas, piranhas, birds, chameleons, and even an indoor beehive. My dad was caring and present when he could be. He was also the disciplinarian and believed in spanking and, at times, used a belt to get his point across. I believe his own troubled childhood with a mother who turned to drinking after the death of her 2-year-old daughter and a father who responded by a divorce greatly influenced him and his lack of parenting skills. He was sent to boarding schools and rarely spent time with his family. Despite, or as a result of this, he craved love and affection, and when he met my mother in high school, they were together until his death 2 years ago. When I was a child, my dad worked very long hours, and we often got up and went to bed without ever seeing him. The reward for these long hours were big chunks of extended time off. During these vacations, we would travel together as a family. My father was an avid fisherman and fell in love with a small rural Mexican fishing village called Bahia de Los Angeles on the Sea of Cortez. Growing up, we spent nearly a third of every year there living a rustic lifestyle in a small home with a generator for electricity, no television, limited refrigeration, but loads of love, affection, and activities. I didn't know that most of my friends had turkey or ham for Christmas dinner until I was in my teens because our routine was enchiladas, rice and beans, which is something that I still do to this day. My siblings and I played with the local children, cooked and celebrated with their families, and learned to speak Spanish. It is a great regret of mine that I am no longer fluent. In my early teens, my dad made a decision that met with disapproval from his father, and as a result, he was cut off from his family and forced out of his job. We left our California and Mexico homes for a small town in Arizona and a much simpler life. My mom went right to work to help pay the bills, and my father soon began work as a car salesman. Over the years, their advice has been passed along through their actions and family sayings told repeatedly at meals and on road trips. They made family first our mantra, especially after we were cut off from our grandparents. I've been married for 24 years to a recently retired Navy sailor and have a daughter who is a freshman at Xavier and a son who is a high school junior. In addition to how I was raised, I worked as an early interventionist with birth to 3-year-olds for 5 years prior to having my first child, and it had a profound effect on how I parent. I was able to choose to stay home for much of my children's youth and found myself attempting to emulate my mother's parenting style. My husband's schedule meant he spent considerable time away, in fact, spending 7 of the first 10 years of our marriage deployed, and so my children began to refer to my mom and I as one unit, Nana Mama. Our lifestyle mimicked my own childhood with long periods of time without Dad present, but then big chunks of vacation time spent traveling together. The love of traveling and giving back to others in different communities was instilled when I was little, and I'm doing my best to pass that on to my children. We have lived all over the world, including Italy, Japan, Hawaii, and both coasts of the United States, and our travels have ranged from Alaskan road trips to the beaches of Bali and much of Europe in between. We are a middle-class, monolingual family, always visiting new places and trying to learn new languages. Mooney cited Berger's 2001 definition of attachment that included the component of feelings of distress during separation, and that is something I can definitely attest to with my daughter's recent departure to college. Our family values are rooted in our Episcopalian faith, and we believe in making the most of our time together. I am grateful to my parents for raising me with so much love and appreciation for diversity, and I hope to pass that along.